continuing on this theme of what we have learned through these 6 years of being involved with DreamRoot. And one thing that comes to mind is measuring what matters. And so, from the business world, organizational development and entrepreneurship, we're familiar with KPIs and dashboards and pieces like that. And how do we apply this in the communities that we're working with, in social projects, even in our own personal lives? And so what we found with some of the local leaders, if we're not able to track or very easily identify what are some progress indicators, or how do we measure success or progress, we have seen that disillusionment sets in. And it can be subtle, of where the local leader is no longer as engaged, or there's a little bit of depression, burnout, some of those pieces there. And so how can we reverse engineer and to add some measurements? Let's identify what does success look like, and how can we identify what are some of those key pieces that we have control over, the inputs of what would lead us to the best outcomes. And too often we think, okay, measuring the outcome, measuring the result of whatever we think is success, or the, pieces like that. And so one, we don't always have the control over the results or the outcome. And number two, some of those results are going to be years down the line. When we're talking about transformation of lives and restoration of communities and opening businesses, where the step one needs to be creating a safer place, and that involves less drug trafficking and less violence in places, right? It seems like a very large thing to tackle, but when we can reverse engineer into some of the pieces and help to identify what would be some of the inputs that we would be able to do today that would lead us on that path for success. And I think that's what the beauty of some of these programmings are, like jiu-jitsu, bringing in some of the youth off of the street to be able to mentor them one-on-one. And, the discouragement that happens when you see some of the kids or some of the youth or the young adults that you've been working with for years and start to make amazing progress. And then something happens. And we know that progress isn't necessarily, for any of us, a linear thing.
Yes.
There's going to be setbacks, and there are going to be some tragic stories. And that is what we've seen at times, is that when those tragic stories hit, those events happening, it's been really tough. And as it should be, because you're invested in the work. When it is about relationship, you've built those relationships over time. It's really, really hard work, which is why we've talked about the importance of community, to have the resilience. And now, what does it look like to still be able to remind ourselves, or to look back to be able to see, here's the progress, here's what's this is mattering, and it's making a difference.
Yeah, one of the things, that we try and we do that ourselves, and we try and encourage those around the local, especially the local leaders, but also to the develop of their teams, is talking about the importance of measuring progress, but measuring the right way. And we are constantly talking about, don't measure the outcome, the result. There are two things that we have to measure before that, which is my behavior and my belief. Ultimately, I have control in the things that I believe, right? How I'm thinking about this challenge, how I'm thinking about those things. So the belief is connected to my mindset towards that challenge. And behavior is, what do I need to do in order to do X, Y, and Z? And if we measure the results based on results alone, it's very easy to get frustrated, because the challenge sometimes is so deep and so interconnected, or it takes so long that it's very easy to fall in discouragement. But if I'm measuring about my mindset, if I'm measuring my behaviors on how to address that, now I can keep the eyes and keep tracking that in a different way. And it's much easier to do a sustainable, long-term hard work when I'm measuring my behavior. So the encouragement becomes, in your own life, what are the things that you are measuring? For us, all of us continue to measuring our behaviors and our beliefs. And if the beliefs are in the right place, the behaviors are in the right place, it's a matter of time that we're going to reach the results that we desire.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing this up. This is a lot of what we cover in the leadership training. It's not behavior modification. It's really is what is our mindset. And so with what we believe, that is determined in a lot of ways by our values,
Yes.
by our emotions, by our experiences. What are some of the lies that we're believing? And so when we start to get those kind of things shifted, then we see the behaviors changing.
Yes.
And that's what, we stumbled upon this kind of stuff, over 20 years ago, running the jiu-jitsu programs, in Jiu-Jitsu Academy. But, that when it's, total side note, but the beauty of the programming of jiu-jitsu, for example, that we do at DreamRoot really is just that, how jiu-jitsu, Tony says all the time, is just a tool. The academy is just a platform, but how jiu-jitsu is a tool that puts in front of your face
Yes.
your own emotions that you have to kind of wrestle with, and then the beliefs that go alongside of that.
Yes.
And having the coach and the peers and the other students there to kind of help process through those things and see things differently, you start to see a transformation in ourselves and in the people that we're working with, that then leads to everything else.